and I'm with Pinku Barty. Hi, Pinku.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. We are doing an ad hoc technical webinar today on our backup. We're just going to answer questions. We've had some questions come in advance, and so we're going to deal with those. Out of the questions that we've gotten so far, I've got a pretty good idea of what we need to cover, and I think we can get it done in an hour as long as we don't deviate too much from the questions. A little bit of housekeeping. We're going to go from 4 p.m. until 5 p.m. today. If you have any questions, type them into your, you've got a little console there for your GoToWebinar. Type in your question right there, and we'll either answer it by typing back to you, or we'll answer it verbally. And we can show you some things. On your screen in front of you, you should see a web page that's got a list of a few of the questions that were sent in advance, and some preliminary answers for those questions. We're going to go into more depth into those questions. We're also going to show, so what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to, looks like most of the people were interested in best practices for designing a default client. We also had several people interested in, a few of these questions. I'll just go through some of the questions now. Someone was interested in a way to verify that the backups were restorable. There were another question, there's too many missed backups. How can we know why a backup was missed, and things like that. Let's go through those questions one at a time. I'll drag them off screen so I can look at them off screen, and then I can show you guys what we're working with in the front of us. Hey, Pinku, do you have anything to say as an introduction?
Nothing, Rob. I mean, you can just pass on 2 questions to me. I'll be more than happy to
Sure.
take it. Just let me know if you want me to come in.
All righty. Pinku's a lot geekier than I am, so he's going to grab all the hard stuff, and I'm going to run the webinar. Jeff wants to know, first question popped up. Jeff wants to know if we're taping the webinar. Yep, we sure are. And this will be available on our website after the webinar is over in video and sound, and in color. Hey, all right, Pinku, let's go ahead and start. Let's start with the first question here. The question that says that someone wants to know a way to verify that the backups are stored properly and that they are recoverable. And this is one of the things that you really should be doing. You should do a test restore periodically. That is, if you want to go strictly by the book with your backups. Strictly by the book backups of any kind mean that you should do test restores periodically. The only way to do that with our software is to actually do a test restore from the client. That will test the entire communications from the server to the client. You can, however, if you've got your client's encryption key, you can also do a full restore from the server. And if anybody wants to know how to do that, we can go over it with you. Here's something exciting. A future release of our backup coming up this summer will automatically do a periodic test restore and report the results in an email notification. That's going to come out as a cool feature, and I think everybody's going to really like that one. Pinky, you have anything to say about that?
It's almost done, so we're on the beta phase. So it's a good one, actually. It automatically runs a test backup. You can set the periodic time, and it will send you a notification. If you want, you can even set it to send to users. Right.
That's going to be a cool feature. Jeff wants to know that he says test restores take a long time, 5+ hours for 30 gigabytes or so. Why is it so slow? I'm here to say that 30 gigabytes in 5 hours is fast. But you shouldn't do. Well, it depends on what you promised your customer. If your SLA with your customer promises that you're going to test a full restore periodically, then you should bill him for it, because it's taking up your work, taking up your time. However, we don't think it's 100% necessary in all cases to do a full test restore. We think a test restore of a few random files is adequate. Otherwise, if your customer wants you to do a full restore, charge him for it. Let's see. Anybody well, further to this question, let me explain that our backup already has a lot of built-in measures to make sure that the files are properly backed up. It tests and then retests the files during backup, and it verifies several digital signatures, including file sizes and checksums for the files pre-compression and encryption and post-compression and encryption. So by the time those files get verified on the server, we are really sure that they are perfect. Now, of course, something can happen to them after they've hit the server. You can have a corrupted, you can get a corrupted file on your server somehow. You can lose a sector. You can lose a file. As far as our software is concerned, though, with all of the checks and rechecks, we don't ever write a file that's not the correct file. Let's see here. Any other questions? No. Anybody else want to talk about that subject before we move on? The next question is about missed backups. One of the audience members has had 15 or so clients that miss backups, and he wonders why, and he wants to know how can we know why they're missing the backups. Well, here's the deal. The client software, if the client software doesn't contact the server when it's supposed to, that's what generates a missed backup email. Unfortunately, though, because the client software does not contact the server, it can't tell it why it missed the backup. So the server doesn't know the reason why it didn't make contact with the server. You can inspect the client remotely. You can log in and check its logs to see if it actually ran. You can also wait for the next backup, and during the next backup, the client might report some errors. Now, we have a brand new knowledge library article, which is right here. This article lists, 14 reasons why a client might miss his backup. So I suggest that you have a look at this. And actually what I'll do is I'll give you the URL for this document that I'm looking at over my shoulder here. Here's the URL for it. You can grab that, and you can look at this document because it's got a link to this article and a bunch of others. It's got a number of links in there.
Oh yeah, Rob, the picture over there, it's you, I believe.
No, it's not. Why would I be wearing a Soviet-era MiG-17 fighter helmet? Okay, let's see. Okay, the next question is we've got a customer. I'm not sure if he's here. Let's see. I don't have a list of people who are here. Yes, I do. Hold on. Yeah, he's here. Okay, somebody says he doesn't want to install the client software on each computer, and he wants us to discuss alternatives. So I guess what he's trying to do is to save on license costs. However, if you were able to back up one, it's just not possible for you to back up multiple computers with one of our client licenses without mapping the drives. So you can map drives around at the customer site if you want to and put the client software on one computer, and then you can back up the mapped drives of the other computers from that one account. However, do not try to use the same account with multiple installations of the RBackup client. It won't work. And that's for several reasons. For security reasons, so that people can't get at each other's data. This is not a file sharing service. It's a backup service and a restore service, not file sharing. We can discuss that if anybody wants to, but I think we should probably move on to some more important things. Most people wanted to see how to develop a client installer and the best practices for that. So I think we should probably spend at least the last 30 minutes on that topic. David wants to know on email notifications, How can the percentage of quota be changed to reflect compressed data rather than raw data? That sounds like a question for somebody geekier than I am. Pinku, what about it? Can it be done? Okay,
Rob?
Pinku, did you hear the question?
No, I missed it. Can you say it again?
Okay. The question is, how can the percent of quota be changed in the email notification to reflect compressed data rather than raw data?
Oh, there is a native settings on the server. You know, the server registry key. I can set you the registry key. If you set it to native, it will be sending only the native keys. If not, it will be setting up the compressor.
So he can change a registry key?
Yep, on the server.
Okay, on the server. Okay. Well, let's see. How about we put that in the document that we're going to share at the end of this, and we'll tell you. So Pinku, email me that key. I'll put it in the document, and then we'll post this up on the web at the end of the webinar.
Yeah, I just typed on chat right now, so yeah, I'll email it to you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
And also on the web manager reports, there is a settings, wherein you can just check it to hide the compressed size, and it only shows the native size. In the latest version, there is an override key wherein they can just set it up in the settings,
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, send me info on how to do that, and I'll share.
Oh, sure.
Mark asked a question. He says, I assume if there's an SQL database to be backed up, I have to use the server client install within 3 credits. No, that's not right. The 2-credit desktop edition will back up SQL Server. The difference is, and here's how it works, the server edition backs up everything for 4 credits. For 2 credits, you get the desktop edition, and that backs up everything except Exchange, Active Directory, and SharePoint. It will back up SQL Server. Okay. Next question is, what's the best way to design backup sets for a customer also doing tape backups, and how can I minimize storage and deliver the desired level of version control? I want to show you this. I want to talk to you about this, and I wonder how to show it to you, whether in the Web Manager or in the RBS Manager itself, the console app. Let me just show you in the console app, because most people have that, and those of you who have the Web Manager, well, you just have to translate. Okay, customize the client installer. Let's go do. And you know what, Pinku? Now would be a great time to discuss best practices for backing up for creating client installers. Do you want to? Let me look up something on my other screens while you have a talk about that.
Oh yeah, I'll take it up. First, you got to analyze the client data and split up the data. Each and every data requires a different treatment and different backup sets. For example, for Exchange, if it is a mail level, you got to do only incremental. You don't have to do a bit level or full backup every day. So you got to split up the client data, and let's say there are data which are merely archived. There could be huge amount of data merely archived. So we just add it into one backup set and treat it as incremental. And first time it's going to send the full backup, and then on it's going to send only the changes. And obviously there's not going to be much changes on the archives. So you don't have to do a bit backup for that. In that way, you can just conserve on the local disk space. And for the huge files, let's say a huge SQL or a PST file, you got to create a separate backup set and put up as bit backup. So it changes every day, and it's going to send only the incremental. And there's the different data. You need to have different backups, and ideally there would be about 3 backup sets. One would be incremental, with the archives and archives and the files, smaller files with changes every day. And the second one would be a bit backup with a SQL or a huge file. And the third one would be again an incremental with the Exchange and the Active Directory and the system state. So ideally this would be an ideal way, but we do have a best practices document wherein
we do have a best practices document,
yep.
And I'm going to drag it on screen here. We actually even have a webinar. We did a full webinar on this. 52 people showed up, and I'm going to send you the link to it. Here it is right here. So there's an hour-long webinar already about this, best practices for setup of the RBackup client software. There is on the blog here several best practices. This one and this one, lots of best practices. We've got a lot of documentation on this. So I think what I'll do is in the document that we circulate at the end, I'll do that, and that should cover it. That's a whole webinar in itself, but since we've already done one and fairly recently and got a lot of good documentation on it, let's just post that. That'll save us some time today for other things. Hey, Tinku, we've got someone else mentioned. You know the guy with the 600 gigabytes of radiographs, 2 million dental radiographs. We have a lot of people. I'm still on the subject of how to create a customized client installer, the best practices for this. And you mentioned 3 good cases where you should have 3 different backup sets. And here's a fourth. We have a lot of people who back up X-rays, dental radiographs. They are image files, and they don't ever change. So they're hardly ever deleted. They just get added to. It's a big file set, and they get added and added and added. And so the best way to back those up is to set it to incremental, not bit backup, and that's that. Set it to incremental and define it as a file set. That way it doesn't waste time with any bit backups because it's going to try to compare them. They don't ever change, so there's no reason to pick bit backup. Set it to incremental, and it just picks up all the new ones. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Let's see. John says something about QuickBooks backups. Don't forget the full for QuickBooks and change read-only flag in the registry. Do you know what he's talking about?
Not sure. Maybe can you just shoot an email on that? And I'll be more than happy to take a look at it.
Yeah, maybe John, just give us a little more clarification on that question if you don't mind. Then I'll move on. Let's see. Jeff wants to know, how about the size considerations for bit backup files? I've been told that bit backups over 1 gig or so should be broken up before bit backing up the pieces. What do you want to do with that one? I'm not quite sure about that. We should.
Yeah, it depends upon the threshold limit you set it up. You want to. I mean, let's say the file is about 2 gig and there is a minimum changes, and you don't want to do full backup regularly. You set the threshold to about 75%, so that obviously it would be
I got it.
To hit the threshold, so it's not going to run a full backup. So it only depends upon the changes which happens every day. It doesn't matter how huge it is. Anyways, the first full backup is going to be a copy to disk.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so regarding the 2 million radiographs that this guy had, so I'm going to suggest that the first backup is a copy to disk, of course. 600 gigabytes, that's too big to do upstream over the internet connection. So that's obvious. And then for a bulk restore, if he has to do a bulk restore of all of those, then of course the best thing to do with that is to return the end user's files to him on a USB drive and use the restore from disk utility to restore them. That's right?
Yeah, not the disk restore utility. Rather, he can just ship the data to the client from the server. Let's say the client's root directory to the client, and open the client's software and set the local store to, let's say, for example, D local restore, and just dump your the entire root directory onto D drive, and open the client and select the file and restore it. It's not going to pull up the file from the server. Instead, it's going to pull up from the local store. It will just, client thinks it's been stored on the local store, and it will pull up the file from the local store, decrypt it, and give you the original file. It hardly takes few seconds to restore. And 600 gig, it could be done within 30 minutes or so. It's just a matter of decompressing the file and decrypting it. That's it.
I see.
Makes sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. And I've got a little further explanation about QuickBooks, and I think we need a knowledge-based article on this because I still don't fully understand it. We've got two people who are saying basically the same thing. That says to recover QuickBooks, you have to have all files, and they must match for recovery. They must match. Since QuickBooks marks the files are read-only, they get skipped if the flag is not set. I guess he means the archive flag. We don't have any reports of QuickBooks files getting skipped or any problems with that, do we? I mean, our software reads read-only files.
No, I mean, this is strange, but I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. You know, if someone can give me access and just log a ticket, I'll be more than happy to take a look at it.
Yeah, let's, John, file a ticket about that, will you? And then we'll write up a best practices and QuickBooks article, and then we'll test it ourselves and answer all that stuff. Okay, let's see. Somebody wants to know, next question is, how do I create an installer that automatically adds an account at the RBS server? Well, you use the Registration Wizard plugin or the Web Manager plugin. The Registration Wizard plugin is a part of your software if you've got version 11 or greater. I'm going to show it to you now. Let me close this. To activate the Registration Wizard, you pick Tools and Properties and Manage Your Preferences and use RBS Registrar. Click that and then pick OK. And then I'll show you how to edit this. When you do that, then you have to rebuild your client installers. But when you do that and then rebuild your client installers, it adds a new front end to the installer, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Let's customize it. It's called the Client Wizard Configuration. And this is a Wizard Configuration panel. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels that you can customize. These all pop up as the client software is installed. The first one is the Introduction panel. It just tells you a little bit. It's just 3 paragraphs. It tells you a little about the software that's being installed. And then the User Information panel just says, please enter user information below. And the Login panel allows you as the service provider to assign how you want these usernames and passwords to be generated. You can have it so that the user doesn't have to enter a username or password at all. And that's what I've done in this one. I've used the email address as the username and assigned a random password. I can also assign a quota. I've made it unlimited here. The connection setup, this is a panel that the user will click and it goes to a certain host. I'm going to change this to my local host. Well, I can't change that, can I? Nope, because that's the way it's programmed in the software already in my server here.
Rob, this particular server, I mean the server URL, it's picked up from the client database. So if you change it from Tools Customized Client Installer, it will automatically reflect here.
That's okay.
That's where you got to change.
And this machine is 50.11, isn't it? This one that we're looking at.
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay. Here are some other options, the backup options. In this case, we set it to purge files older than 90 days. So let's set it to keep 3 copies. And then keep the latest version. We set it to medium compression and blowfish and quiet mode and auto-generate the key, blah, blah, blah. Okay, online registration. Let's don't enable that. Advanced or proxy options. And then that's the finish panel. It says finish. Now let's save it. Okay, so what we've done is we've just customized this, and let's test it. All right, this is what it'll look like to the end user. And he'll enter his first name and all of his information here. Then he'll enter his email address, and then he'll click Next to register. And let's see if it registered. It did. Okay. All right, so now that we've got that all set up, let's build a client installer. Tools, Customize Client Installer. And everything's correct. I'm going to assume we've all been through all this. Build the client installer. Let's build self-extracting exe files. Let's call them demo. I'm not going to digitally sign them. Let's put them in this folder that I've opened on my desktop. This folder is called demo. Let's put them right there. Let's use the default icon file and then click Make exe. destinational files already exist. Yeah, they do, because I built them just before this webinar. Here they are, but we're going to rebuild them. Okay, it's building those, and you can see as it builds each one of them, the little icon changes over here. Okay, now it has built all 3 editions, and they're ready to install. Let's have a look at what one of them actually looks like. Let me close all these screens. Okay, so before the webinar, I wanted to make sure that my computer didn't have to be restarted for this. So I went ahead and installed it, but I didn't register it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Wizard Alive. Okay, it says new registration or disaster recovery. If we are restoring from, if we're trying to perform a disaster recovery, that is, if the customer has lost his complete computer and hard drive and all of his data, first thing we need to do is a disaster recovery. That'll restore all of his data back to his computer. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do a new registration. When I click new registration, if I've got the registration wizard active like I do, it'll pop up here. So look, this is what it looks like to the end user, and I'll click next, and let me just fill in some things. And TN USA, telephone, and fax is, okay, that one. Email is, let's see, it's going to use my email address, so I'll say info@remotebackup.com. Now, that's my email address, yep. Next to register, and it is registering. That's it. It registered. And let's make sure it registered. Okay, now it's wanting to make sure that all this was set up. Let's see. I don't want to do that. It's supposed to print this. This is the key This is the key form. So whenever you first install the client software, it wants to create a registration key, and it also wants you to print this key form. And it's a good thing to do because in this case, I didn't select my encryption key. It was selected for me. I also didn't select my password. It was selected for me because I had all that set in advance. So what I should do is print this, and I'm going to print it to some other printer. Print it to that one. Okay. And I don't know why that popped up the second time. And it failed to print. Okay, well, that's because my computer's not connected to that printer. Okay, so the software is installed now, and it wants me to select files to back up. And I guess I will. Let's select, let's see, I have a demo set up. It's called Demo Large. And I'll check mark that. Next. I want on-demand full backup. And that's that. So the client software is successfully installed. It'll run in the system tray, and it'll perform its backups on schedule. And so that's how to use the registration wizard. And the registration wizard is a normal part of the software. You do not have to buy it. It's built into the software, but it's not active by default. You have to activate it. The registration wizard is great if you want to distribute your software without the web manager. With the web manager, however, you don't need the registration wizard. The web manager has its own built-in registration system, and I'll show you that, rbssoftware.com. In case any of you don't know, this domain I just typed in, rbs-software.com, is the web address for our live demo server. So you can go in here and play with this yourself. This is a live server. To get a key to log into it, you click this button and enter your information and your email address especially, so that we can spam you an awful lot. And it'll send you a code back in email. Then you click My Account, and you can enter your code right here, and you can log in as administrator. And that way you can mess around a live server. You can't mess it up because I don't think you can actually change anything. But you can look around at a lot of stuff. This is the Web Manager plugin, and this is how you manage your server with the Web Manager plugin. I may get back to this. Let's take some questions now. If anybody has any more questions, I think we've answered just about all of them. And if not, I'm going to go on to some that were sent in before the webinar. Yep. Pinku, you have anything?
We're good, Rob. Go ahead.
Sounds good.
Oh, we're good now. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Completely off subject, but important, is what files need to be synced to create a failover server. Let's talk about this for a minute, because some people do want to create a failover server, a mirror server, a second server that's someplace else on the internet, maybe in the same data center, maybe in a different data center, completely geographically removed. And how do you make sure that those two servers stay in sync with one another and that the second server can pop online when the first one goes offline? And it's surprisingly simple to do. The software has some built-in features that can support that. One of them is on the client side. Let me get this on screen here to show you. When you're creating your client and you go to the screen where it asks you for an IP address or a URL, here you can enter several URLs separated by semicolons.
And Rob, along with it, you can add colon and mention the port number as well. You know, you can run two servers with different ports as well.
That's true. I forgot about that. So you can do this. So if you want to put both of your servers in the same on the same physical computer, maybe two different VMs, or you want to route it somehow, you can do this. Put a colon and then the port number. So what will happen in this case is this when this client software tries to contact its server, it'll try it first at this URL. If it fails or it gets rejected at that one, it'll try this one. And if it fails or gets rejected at that one, it'll try this one. And then it'll start over again with the first one. It does this about every 3 minutes until it gets a good connection. So the software the client software itself is designed to fail over. Now that it'll do that, all you really have to do is keep two servers in sync. So you would buy a second server license from RBS. It only costs $199, no matter how many end users you have on it. You bring that up at another location, and you install some sync software, some folder sync software. In fact, there's one called Folder Sync. One that I really like is called Good Sync. Good Sync is a piece of software that keeps keeps two servers completely in sync. And here's the way it works. When your customers dial in to do backups, they'll send their backups to your primary server. They'll send a file there. Sometime in the next few minutes, the sync software will recognize that it's out of sync with the secondary, and it'll transmit that file over to the secondary. The same thing happens when you delete a file. So as files roll off the primary server through the file retention protocol that you set here. No, where do you set the file retention protocol? There it is. For example, in this case, if the file is over 90 days old, it's going to be deleted from the server. Well, the sync software detects that, and it also deletes it from the second server. So it's really cool. If the primary server goes offline, then the client software will automatically roll over to the secondary server. Everything should be in sync, and it should be able to pick up right where it left off, restores and backups. When the primary server comes back online, again, the sync software will recognize that they are out of sync, and any software that's been added, or I'm sorry, any files that have been added or deleted from the backup server will then be sent back to the primary by the sync software. On this document, excuse me, on this document that I'm going to post after the webinar, there are already two links on it. One link is a knowledge base article on how to back up an end user's data in more than one location, and the other one is how to set up failover and mirroring for your RBS server. Let's see. Let me have a look at the questions and see if there's anything else. David wants to know if the second server requires a license, and I've already answered that. It does. It's $199. No big deal. Mark wants to. Well, let me get to that later. Okay, Ben wants to know, does the software use the Windows naming length? I have a few clients that have file names over 30 characters or longer. I've noticed they do not restore when we run the test to restore. Hey, Ben, upgrade your software. The current version is good for up to 256 characters, right, Pinku?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
the latest version, 11.8,
11.5.8.
8, yeah.
We have made some recent changes to that. If you're having file name issues, make sure you have the very latest software. Let's see here. John says super flexible file sync also supports remote site and FTP. I guess super flexible file sync is the name of the software. Let's look it up. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. So thanks, John. It's a UK company. Good for them. All right. Next. All right. Somebody wants to know how to use a code signing certificate in the web manager. And let me first tell you why you'd want to do that. A code signing certificate is a piece of software that signs your executable files, these files that you distribute. By signing the files, I mean it wraps a piece of software around them and adds a little header and a key, and it checks the CRC, the checksum of the file. It actually adds something to it that allows it to verify that the file hasn't been changed since you created it. And the reason that's good is because viruses and other nasties can attach to executable files en route. They can, or at rest or at any time. Also, another thing that the code signing certificate does is to certify that the guy who says he made the package actually made the package, that is you as the service provider. Because to get the code signing certificate, you have to register with a code signing authority, and then they have to call you on the phone and check your business license and check your records and make sure that you really are who you say they are before they're willing to certify that you are. You can buy expensive ones and you can buy cheap ones. VeriSign is the most widely recognized. It's also the most expensive, and I think it's around $500 per year. GoDaddy has a less expensive one. I mean a whole lot less expensive, but I don't remember exactly how much it costs. Any Class 3 code signing certificate will do. Here's what happens with Windows. When you download a file from the Internet, your browser and Windows looks for that code signing certificate. If it finds one and it's still a good one, then it will complain a whole lot less. When you download stuff from the Internet, Windows complains at different levels. One level is, hey, warning, don't install this. It's bad software. And another level is with the code signing certificate, which says this software comes from this company, and it actually lists your company name, and it complains a whole lot less. So with the code signing certificate installed, you get a much nicer customer experience, a better trust factor, and a whole lot less complaints from Windows. So we suggest that you do it, and you don't have to do it right away. The software that comes from us is code signed, but it's code signed with our certificate, so it says remote backup systems. If you buy your own certificate, you can install it on the web manager or the RBS manager, and whenever you build your software, it replaces our certificate with yours. Let's see. Any questions? Any other questions about that? If otherwise, I'll just move on. There's another question called, how can I create more custom automated customer reports? We get several requests for this. The reports that we've created are kind of generic. They're the general purpose reports that everybody has asked us for. However, some people want different reports. They want them in the form of an invoice that they can send to their customer, or they want a report that shows both native and compressed size, or they want something different on the report. There are a few ways that you can get those reports. One of them is that we can write them for you. We charge a fee to do that. It's $100 an hour at this time, and we will handle it as a project, and we'll write the report for you. Another way is that we also provide a free export utility that you can use. This utility runs at a command prompt, and it reads through the server's data file, its primary data file, and exports data in different formats. You can then import that data into some billing tools like QuickBooks or Excel or anything like that. Another way to do it, if you have a programmer on staff, is that you can read directly from the server's main data file, and it's called rbs.mdd. It contains most of the things, well, virtually all the things you would need for billing, in fields that are unencrypted. Some of the fields in that file are encrypted, but those are the ones you won't need to get at. The ones that are not encrypted contain things like file sizes and times and dates and numbers of files and all that. So you can read right into that file with SQL commands and access commands, depending on the version that you have. I will send you some links, one to the data export utility and the other to something about the RBS custom programming services. John wants to know if there's any integration with MSP tools for billing information. John, we do integrate. There's a new feature in it came out in version 11.2.4 or 5 that writes to the Windows event logs. And Pinku, you should explain more about that. This feature is turned off by default. But if you turn it on, then our software can write different information to the event logs, and then you can use your MSP tools like LabTech and things like that to get at those event logs. Pinku, you want to talk about it?
That's it, Rob. It's pretty simple. It's same like any other application. Once you turn on that particular key, it will automatically write even on the server. I mean the server part, even the client part. Both can write it onto the Windows log. So you can just use any MSP tools to read this.
I see. Okay. All right. And where do you turn it on?
I can give you that key. I got to.
There's a place for it, right, on the screen?
Oh,
right
yeah.
Here on the our backup. I'm on the web manager screen. Where would I turn it on here?
1 minute. You can do it from the server.
I found it. It's here to turn on event logging.
Yep, you can do it on the RBS server console also. The RBS manager as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And let's see, on the setup, let's see, that's for the server, and then on the let's see, customized client installer, it's on here someplace where you can turn on event logging. There are 4 screens associated. I'm on the web manager here, and there are 4 screens associated. There it is. It's on the first screen. Turn on event logging.
Yep.
True. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let me look. That's all the questions that people have sent in advance that we can discuss. There were 2 remaining. One of them wants to know if there's a way to change the wording of the failed backup email notifications, and I don't think there is. Pink, maybe there is. Is there a way? But I mean, besides modifying the template, I'm not even quite sure if I understand the question, and I don't know who sent the question in. If you're here and you sent the question in, explain it further up there in the questions screen, and I'll try to answer it for you. Let's see. Someone else wants us to discuss the backup and restore of huge locked files, and how do we do a restore using a USB drive. You want to do that, Pinku?
Oh yeah, can you read out the question again, please?
Sure. Please discuss the backup and restore of huge locked files. How do I restore using a USB drive?
I mean, I'm just confused with this question. Locked files in the sense, I mean, the Windows task, I mean, the VSS is going to take care of the locked files, so it's going to back up anyway. So to restore it, I mean, as I explained earlier, you can just even send those files to the client and redirect it and use it. I mean, restore it using a local restore, or from the web itself, from the server itself, you can just use the disk restore utility and restore the files and send the native file to the client.
Okay, so there's a disk restore utility. Look, you can. Let me show you how to do this. You pick accounts, and then you right-click on I don't know, this one that I just created, and you pick import date. Well, you pick restore files. Okay, and then you can restore the files there, and this runs the disk restore utility, which is a separate utility, by the way, and you can send this to your customers. It's a little exe file, and this will restore files. It asks for the username and password and encryption key. So one of the ways to do it is, and actually let me show you how this happens. Let me show you on my computer how these files are stored. I'm going to drill down into the server and show you how we store our files on the RBS server. And here they are. The files on the server are, each user has his own folder and can also have his own drive or group of drives or groups of folders. And here's one, info@remote-backup.com. This is the one that we just created. This one was created before. Inside here, you have several folders with all of these weird-looking files. These are the actual backup files or pieces of the backup files if you've had our bit backup turned on. This is how it actually looks on your server. So they're completely encrypted and compressed, and they don't even have the original file names or folders on them, so there's no way that anybody could look at this and tell what's here. You can't even guess at what's here. And this is one of the things that keeps us HIPAA compliant and our competitors not HIPAA compliant. If this were a doctor's office and you could open up the server and see the entire folder structure for each of these files and the file names, that discloses an awful lot of information, like John Smith's heart bypass operation on January 5th, 2002. Some people will name a file like that, and that is an illegal disclosure of information. All right, back to what you can do with this. So to copy a user's data to USB drives, all you do is just go drill down here and copy it. You just grab all this stuff and copy it, drag it to the USB drive, and then get a copy of the disk restore utility and put that on the drive too. Haul the drive out there, plug it in, and restore it. Wallace wants to know where you turn on the event logging on the web manager, and I think it's over here. Do you know where it is right offhand, Pinku?
Oh yeah, go to the advanced options.
Advanced, okay.
Yeah, more advanced options.
More advanced options. Yeah, okay. Is that it? Yeah, turn on event logging right here. Okay, so you just, Wallace, you just set this to yes, and here's how we got there. We picked Customize Client Installer from the Tools menu, and then pick the Advanced tab, and then pick More Advanced Options, and then turn on event logging, yes. By the way, this is also where you enable local backup mode. So if you wanted to enable the local backup, this will, you enable that, and then you give it the path for some local device. And what the client software will do then is really cool. It keeps a complete copy of everything it sends off-site on-site. And on restore, the client software knows where the fastest location is to get the file that's been requested. And if it's from the local device, if you've enabled local backup and the file you want is there, or the group of files you want is there, it's going to get it from there automatically, which makes massive backups really, really fast because they come through at local network speed instead of having to be downloaded from the internet. Um, okay, all right. Let me read some more of these questions here. Do you have a list of standard events that are logged that we could look for? Yeah, I don't have that list. Pinku, can you send that to me?
Oh yeah, I have a list of it. I can send it.
Good. Please send that to me, and I'll post it. That's a great question that I ought to know the answer to, and no, I don't know what that list looks like. We'll get that list, and we'll get it posted. Lloyd's got a question. It looks like a problem about missed backups. He says, I'll just read the question. It's my understanding that the client is getting an email that the backup was missed due to the backup not starting at the start time. The backup is then able to start later, and it completes. Our clients have concerns that they're getting emails in the above situation, and they're concerned that they're not getting their backups. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't start within, let me show you something about this. My guess is tools, email notifications, email missed backup notification. My guess is that this scheduled time to run for the backup is too early. The missed backup notifications and the over-quota notifications run at a specific time every day. They are timed events. If you have, in this particular case, it's scheduled to run at 10 a.m. So in the morning at 10 a.m., any backups that haven't, Pinku, is it any backups that haven't started or finished? I think it started. Any backups that were supposed to have started in the previous 24 hours and didn't will get a missed backup notification. And so if your clients are getting missed backup notifications when they have actually done backups, two things come to mind. This scheduled time to run is too early in the morning, or too late at night. You know, it's just I'd set it for 10 a.m. is what most people use, or they've got two accounts. They may have two email addresses stored in your system, and they're getting a missed backup from one that really isn't running. You know, that's a long shot, but it does come to mind. Let's see. Phil wants to know if I can send him a login password to the online forum that I was speaking about. I think he's talking about the live demo server, this one, and you can you get it yourself. You go over. Click this button here. Go to rbs-software.com and click this button that says click here to begin, and it will email it to you. They're all different. I'm not sure what it's going to email to you, Phil. Let's see. We're getting close to the time we need to cut off, but there's a good question from Ben. How many backup sets can you set up? Unlimited. It's unlimited, isn't it, Pinku? I mean, really unlimited.
Yeah, there's no limit and there's no restriction in our software, so it can be unlimited.
Yeah.
I've seen service providers have about 25 backup sets, so
right,
25 to 30.
Now, wait a minute. Isn't it limited in the personal version to just one backup set? The personal edition. So don't use the personal. Well, I don't know if anybody who actually uses the personal edition. The personal edition is limited to one backup set, but nobody's going to use that for businesses anyway. The desktop edition and the server edition have it's unlimited then. Oh, okay. Let's see. Unless there are any more. Okay, there are questions. Let's see. Phil wants to know, he's requesting access to a forum that you had online where I can learn about all these talks about the. Oh, Phil, that's the members forum, the service providers forum, and you can contact our contact our tech support about that, and or ask Les. Les has got to log into that, and you can use Les's login. Okay. So let me again show you what I'm going to do here. The webinar has been recorded. I suppose the recording is good because I keep seeing the drive space go down here. It's going to take me about an hour to clean it up and post it online. When I do, I'll post it on our website at this web address right here, and you'll be able to see it by going over to, let's see, go to our website at remote-backup.com, go to where it says downloads and multimedia and recorded webinars, and it'll be the number one webinar up here. It'll be right up here, and there'll be a link to the webinar recording, and there'll also be a link to this web page that I've been looking at here, and I'll update this web page over the next day or so with information that Pinku has promised me he would be sending over to me. Again, go to the website, pick downloads, multimedia, and then recorded webinars. And there it'll be, number one. Also check out these others too. This one is a really good one. This one is called Best Practices for Client Setup. It's an hour and 17 minutes. We had a lot of participation in that one. It's great. It tells you a lot about how to set up the client software for different situations, how to customize it. You know, you can customize many versions of it. You can have one for dentists, one for doctors, one for chiropractors. You can make it look like you run 45 different companies. And that's about it. Everybody, thank you very much for coming to the webinar today. Thank you, Pinku, for helping with it. Check the website. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you. I'm Rob Cosgrove. You can email me directly, rob@remote-backup.com. If you've got a sales question, you can email sales. It's sales@remote-backup.com. And that's it. That's it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.